This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. Went to the doctor this morning, had to go to the lab, got a lot of blood taken, lost some blood. So
that's the worst.
Is this real? Like, did we just do this might be the blood loss talking, but we did a positive podcast on Monday. Did the Yankees just lose 2 straight games at home to Baltimore? One of each variety of embarrassment. One close game where they were unable to execute and come back, and one bludgeoning. Did that occur, or am I just woozy because a doctor went into my arm and took my life matter? Really feels like, I guess we're never just doing a positive recap of a series ever again, because 6 games left. There was almost nothing that could go wrong. Almost. There were some things, but almost nothing. Pretty close to nothing. Just got to win one, and you win the division. Whether that's against Baltimore or against Pittsburgh. Just one win. The Orioles could lose one. The Orioles are playing Minnesota. That's a team that's still fighting for their playoff lives, although playoff berth is less realistic today than it was when this series started, certainly, because KC has won 2 in a row. The Tigers have won 2 in a row. The Orioles could lose one in Minnesota. Minnesota's motivated. The Yankees could just win one against Pittsburgh, or they could win one against Baltimore. It could be easy. You lose the first 2 in distinctly flattening fashion. Suddenly, you got to win one of the next 4. It's still doable. Get that Baltimore loss. I mean, there's a reason Fangraph says the Yankees have a 99.4% chance of winning the division, but be 100% chance if you could have just won one of the last 2 games instead of continuing to kick the can down the line. Thomas recently said, he's on this podcast, said he's going to unsubscribe from my thoughts until the Yankees clinch. And I think that's valid, but at the same time, it would have been great if they could have just gotten the job done in one of 2 very simple chances laid out before you prior to a Corbin Burns, Garrett Cole finale, prior to Jared Jones and the Pirates on Friday night, prior to Paul Skeens on Saturday, starting a meaningless game for the Pirates, but potentially meaningful for us. And beyond all this, hey, clinch, don't clinch, no skin off my nose. The Yankees are going to have a home playoff series no matter what to start, because they're either going to be the 1 or the 2 or the 4. Even if you clinched, you still got to hold off the Guardians. You have the tiebreaker with the Guardians, but they're up 1 right now in the loss column because the Guardians are a game ahead of them. So the Yankees lose this finale to the Orioles. They will be tied with the Guardians, but they'll still have home field advantage over them. They will be the 1 seed. If they win all 3 games against Pittsburgh, you got to be scoreboard watching the Guardians in Houston over the weekend. I mean, there are just all sorts of things that you shouldn't have had to do that you now have to do, because you couldn't execute in the first 2 games of the series. And, oh, by the way, Nestor Cortes Jr. is going to be out for the postseason. He thinks he could come back by the ALCS. He's not going to. So we'll talk about all sorts of unpleasant things that we didn't want to have to talk about when they entered the final 2 series of the year with a magic number of 1. How ironic that in the 20th anniversary of 2004, the Yankees just having to win 1 game to make a lot of questions go away. Can't do it quite yet. They've lost some pitching depth. That is valuable. Jake Cousins as well. They have yet to lose someone I would call a playoff starter, but depth matters. Losing depth is how you end up with Chad Green starting Game 6 of the ALCS in Houston in 2019. The depth was one of the main advantages we talked about on the last show in terms of, I think this roster is just as good as 2019, but they may actually be better because they have these additional arms. You don't have to go shorthanded. That might have been the Danny Wexelman pod, but still, no, it's still technically true, but less so the case today than it was when we said it on the last show. Marcus Stroman, you want to be a part of the playoff mix last night? Not a great way to cement yourself. And also, our starting left fielder, the left fielder everybody wants to see start, can't play left field. There's a preconceived notion about the Jasson Dominguez problem that, the haters and the anti-Yankee folks and a lot of the popular narrative want to paint Yankee fans in a bad light for asking for Jasson Dominguez. They're straight up wrong on this, and I'll take them to task by the end of the show. But hey, Thomas Carannante, welcome. let's talk. Let's get angry, hopefully for the final time this year. But I mean, this is need to win any of these games against Baltimore, but it would have been a lot easier if they had.
It just would have been. I wanted to do a podcast either on Tuesday night or Wednesday night for a clinch.
We tried.
Not fucking doing it tonight because I have shit to do. So I'll be catching half the game and then I got to go out. Look, my concerns remain. I understand that the Yankees responded in full force, going 12-3 over those 15 games. You look back on the 15 games, though, and again, a little bit of a hair-splitting situation because the postseason's approaching, but this 15-game stretch of positivity started with the Royals, who have been undergoing it would be probably an historic slide if the Twins weren't doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
So we caught the Royals at a good time in terms of their ineptitude. Still, Yankees got the job done. Got to give them credit for that. You take 3 out of 4 with Boston. I still think that is massive just because Boston gives us problems no matter what. But
it was eliminated. They've been eliminated. They've been eliminated, by the way. Didn't mention it in the intro, but I'll have something special for Alex Cora by the end of this. I've been waiting to do the Red Sox elimination podcast for 6 months. So we'll wrap the show. The Baseball Insider's doing it at 3:30. I shoehorned in some Red Sox elimination talk. Is that one of the biggest storylines in baseball this week? Absolutely not. But do I want to talk about it? You're damn right. Get out of here.
You're damn right. We love that. I would have liked to have been celebrating. Last night would have been great. Yankees win, Red Sox lose, Red Sox are out, Yankees win the division. A great way to combine all these. But guess what? You know what I didn't fucking realize until one of the commercial breaks, because I wasn't dialed in that closely, is the fact that last night was the Derek Jeter bobblehead night for the 10-year anniversary of him walking off the Orioles. Of course they're going to lose the fucking game. Of course, this is what they do. It's what they do for every game with meaning behind it. Anyway, they take 3 out of 4 with Boston. Got to give them credit, but Boston eliminated last night. They are not a good team. The front office does not support the growing pieces and the aspiring pieces of that roster. Then you go to Seattle, who has also been enduring a slide of epic proportions. They blew a 10-game lead in the division at the All-Star break. They suck. I know they have talent, but overall, not a great team. Then you go to the A's in Oakland. A's are not good. I know the Yankees' House of Horrors has been the Coliseum for a long time. So I'm not going to get on, I'm not going to devalue these wins entirely, but at the same time, a lot of the concerns remain in terms of stepping on the opponent's throat, getting to where you need to be in terms of just ending the conversation and getting rid of the bad headlines. The pitching has always kind of been lurking in the back of our minds because we don't know what the rotation is necessarily going to look like. And now that Nestor Cortes is out, it adds to the bad vibes. And don't make no mistake about it, he's not coming back because there's no scenario in which he rehabs a flexor strain with enough time to get back to where he was performing over the last month. It's just not going to happen.
And if he were to come back, if he were to come back, it would look like, remember when we just had Frankie Montas on the ALCS roster for no reason?
Yeah,
and everybody was like,
Yep.
Oh, that was kind of a surprisingly quick comeback. And then he pitched out of the bullpen, gave up a home run, and that was his ALCS. Like, Nestor is not going to be able to start. He probably was not starting a postseason game anyway, but that's a really valuable guy you could deploy for 2-3 innings at a time that you're not going to have. And if he does come back for the ALCS, he'll be walking on eggshells.
Yeah. And you look at the Orioles, who have been playing really bad, and we just gave them life. They clinched at the stadium, which was going to happen. They needed to win 1 of 3, so duh. But you kind of they get bludgeoned last night on top of squandering opportunities, and then on Tuesday night, it's opportunity squandered moment after moment. And now there's defensive concerns with the outfield. I don't know. I'm not getting on Austin Wells here. It's more of an Aaron Boone thing, and I know the lineup has been hard to kind of navigate, but like the guy's going through another month-long slump where it's like you're just going to keep him in the cleanup spot. You're not going to move anything around. You're not going to figure out. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a manager, but something has to happen. You can't have a guy batting 170 in the cleanup spot and not slugging over that period. Like that's the entire job is that. And there's leash to remove him from that spot because he's a rookie. So those are just the base level concerns that I think are just not going away. This lineup is prone to going into these quiet offensive streaks. And again, like I talked about on Monday, this team averaged 4 runs per game over that 12-3 stretch. That is not tenable. And that average was bumped up because of 3 10-run performances. So again, concerns exist. That's all. Nonetheless, it is very classic Yankees to leave us on a magic number 1 clinch since Sunday night and not getting the job done. And now, pressed up against it. Garrett Cole, Corbin Burnes is not a free victory for this team. I know Garrett Cole's coming off his best start of the season, but Corbin Burnes definitely needs that motivational outing before the playoffs because he's been a tad bit up and down, even though he's been great. But that confidence going into October is really, it's unmatchable. So yeah, I don't know. And then you have these pitching matchups against the Pirates that definitely don't benefit you. I don't think there's a world in which they lose all 6 and then we jump off a cliff, but just, it would have been nice.
Yeah, I'm still confident they're going to end it, but and I think the Twins, it would be very classic Yankees for the Twins to end it for us on Friday or something. Just the least excitement possible around a clinch that should have been so cathartic. Like get swept by the Orioles, and then Simeon Woods Richardson beats the O's on Friday as the Yankees lose 2-0 to Jared Jones, and they celebrate in the clubhouse after, and everybody's like, that was a yikes all around. I mean, I whatever, you gave the Orioles life, man. Like, it's a bad series when I'm angriest at our own fans. Like I'm angrier at our own fans than opposing fans. But that's where I'm at right now, because you had everybody last night, everybody who's been waiting to get there, like, oh, this is an unserious team, tweets off. Like, quibble with the reality, right? Losing Nestor Cortes significantly hurts in the short term. Whether there's a UCL tear or not, there doesn't appear to be. He's getting re-examined. He thinks he can come back. He's not going to come back. You're not losing a starter, but you're losing insurance. You're losing an option I trust. And I trust Cody Poteet as the new Nestor Cortes more than I trust Marcus Stroman, especially after last night. But that's a guy who threw 15 big league innings this year and hasn't pitched since June until last night. So It's a downgrade. And lefty-righty, too. Like, this might mean we see Tim Meza in the playoffs. This means a bunch of uncomfortable questions about the Yankees roster construction that were answered by, hey, we actually have a starter that we can bump down to the bullpen, meaning that Luis Gil maybe only has to throw 3 innings, meaning, it's fine that Tim Hill is the only lefty reliever we got because we got an all-star from 2022 from the rotation who we could plug in there for key outs. We don't have that anymore. So there are reasons to be nervous about this team. That is, number one is pitching depth is disappearing day by day, and we lost a big one. Number 2 is we're not going to be able to shake this fear of the offense disappearing until we see a playoff series with a lot of offense, because this is the Orioles. They threw their 3 starters who you're going to see in a playoff series, and the first 2 didn't go so well. And don't get fooled by yesterday's 9-7 score, because the Yankees did what they always do, where they ambush a reliever, but not enough, but just enough so that your friends text you that this is cool, and then they don't win the game just enough so that you get all the Aaron Judge texts, and then you go, are they winning though? No, the final out text comes in right after. So no win.
Oh, damn, so close.
Yeah. Oh, man, I really thought they were going to do it because I have no brain at all. No, of course they weren't going to. And so that's where we're at. But, don't be fooled. The offense hasn't shown up in this series at all. And Dean Kramer continues to be somebody who they don't perform well against. Last night, Zach Eflin.
Crazy.
Zach Eflin had a bad start. Zach Eflin was hungover. Zach Eflin walked, I think, 4 or 5. And he's one of the best control pitchers of baseball. They can't take advantage because Marcus Stroman gives up 6 singles to start the game. And Jasson Dominguez doesn't look like a left fielder. But, I think the concern is need to see the offense, worried about the pitching depth, and they let the Orioles get off the mat, and they could very well be the team that comes in and faces you in the postseason in about a week and a half. But you know what's not fair? That everybody was doing last night, and that got me riled up unnecessarily, and it always does, and I don't like myself in the aftermath because I realize I'm just tweeting it. Faceless people who don't even have the courage to put their own pictures and names on Twitter. There's this guy, and the thing about Yankees fandom and Yankees Twitter is that I think a lot of our listeners will know exactly who I'm talking about. There's like a guy online whose handle is just letters and numbers, and his picture is a crypto monkey. It's like .eth or whatever. It's like some fake guy. And every time the Yankees struggle or have a bad series or have a bad week, there he is. Oh, I knew this team didn't have it. They don't have the guts. They'll never win anything with Boone, brain-free Boone or whatever. You see it over and over and over again. And there's just, I get mad at the Yankees in this situation too, because the people out there who devalue 2 months of good play because of 2 days of bad play. The Yankees have the best record in baseball since the Trent Grisham game, but you'd never know it because they just played 2 bad days against the Orioles. And these same people are like, they beat the A's, I don't care. If they beat the Mariners, I don't care. They can't win a series against the O's or the Astros. Hey, they did win 2 series against the Astros. They went 6-1 against them. Yeah, no, but that was the old Astros. That doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the thing I just saw. Nothing you'll say, sway me. Like the last 2 games are more important than the 30 games prior. You can't argue with these people because they're set in stone. They're set in their ways. They're making the easiest bet you'll ever make, which is that the Yankees aren't going to win the World Series. Congrats. Raise my hand. Oh, good for you. Good for you. You raised your hand in September. And said, yeah, I think I'm taking the field actually versus my own team. And then they win. And you're like, well, no thanks to Aaron Boone. They swept the World Series. Like, I personally, right now, truth serum, I don't think the Yankees are winning the World Series either. But I think there's got to be an argument. No. You got to give me an argument. You can't just say these 2 awful games have laid bare all their flaws and it's over. And beating up the A's and beating up the Mariners, beating up the Red Sox, beating up the Royals, those things don't matter at all. And winning that series at Fenway and surging back into the catbird seat, every loss is a confirmation of your priors, and every win is like, well, they're supposed to win. I mean, obviously, of course they won. I mean, they're the Yankees. We're in this place where I'm angry at our fan base because they forget wins and only focus on losses. But I'm also angry at the Yankees.
Yeah, it's true.
I'm angry at the Yankees because they could make it easy. Yeah. They could invalidate this concern by winning games that they really should win. They should have won one of the last 2 games. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I mean, Gleyber Torres' base running gaff. That's it. That's the fucking game. And I don't care what anybody says about his recent performance. It's been incredible. It's been a lifeline for this team. But like Aaron Judge said in the postgame, it can't happen. Third base coach holds you up. There's no reason you should be going unless that ball from the catcher flies into center field. And that, again, this is the stuff that worries people about the postseason. This team is not fundamental defensively. You saw it yesterday. Jazz Chisholm with the error. Lucky to get that out at second base. The Jasson Dominguez misplay in left field, which we'll talk about as the podcast goes on because there's a giant conversation surrounding that. The empty at bats, the Anthony Volpe popping a bunt up on the road when he was against Seattle when he was called in to just lay it on the ground. Like, teams lacking fundamentals, and this is not old man yelling at the sky. It's not. Like, fundamentals are very important to the game. If you're not buttoned up and you're not ready to make the routine plays and take on the routine assignments when every inning counts for your livelihood, then you're not going to win. So that's why you look at this Yankees team, you look at the troubles with RISP when this team goes cold. It is really bad. I understand their numbers on the season are generally okay when you look at it through a larger lens, but that's because, again, it's boom or bust. So banking on this team to be boom when the playoffs arrives is very tough because they haven't been boom in the playoffs for a really long time. Whether they've been held back by injury, whether the offense has not found a rhythm, whether the pitching had a couple of tough nights, like, it's hard to be perfect in the playoffs. Everybody knows that, but the Yankees have been far from perfect for a really long time in that department. And you look at the fun of all these guys playing out of position, like Jazz Chisholm, not a third baseman. I know he's been playing well, but you see the stats of him being incapable of fielding ground balls that are, hit softly in front of him. That's not good. And if Aaron Boone wants to bring in Clay Holmes in a late and close situation, guess what? That's all you're getting. You're getting soft ground balls and dinks and dunks, or someone's running into a sinker and it's going over the fence. So defense has to be prepared. Anthony Volpe's arm, you saw it last night or 2 nights ago. Oh no, it was last night with the Gunnar Henderson single. Like, arm's not that strong. We know that to be a reality, but that's also a bit of a problem. Gleyber Torres has largely been fine on the defensive front, but you don't know when the brain fart's coming. Last night it came on the base path, so chalk one up there. Juan Soto is not great in right field. Aaron Judge is not great in center field, and the left field situation is imperfect. So I think at this point you have a very good shortstop in Anthony Volpe. You have elite caliber defense from Gleyber Torres when his head's in the game. You have really good catching defense, and you have Anthony Rizzo, who I think actually has been good. But again, the first base and left field situations with Alex Verdugo and Anthony Rizzo are far from perfect. I'm not asking it for it to be perfect, but the bats are bad. They're just bad. And we've seen defensive gaffes from the both of them in the past. So who's to say that that's not going to resurface in the playoffs? Concerns remain. That's the end of the story. And it's, we're days away. So the fact that again, like you said, they could have just made this all go away. Just play the last couple weeks of the season tight so people fucking forget about it. So people don't have to be bitching and moaning about losing 2 to the Orioles in games that essentially they don't matter. They do not matter. The Yankees, for all intents and purposes, are division champs. They just are. To lose all 6 and to choke in that manner, and to what? The Orioles have to win
every game.
The rest
there
too?
Can't be a single game that goes your way. There are 9 opportunities because an Orioles loss or a Yankees win will get it done. So that's every single game of this series, because obviously every Yankees win is an Orioles loss, followed by the Orioles playing 3 in Minnesota and the Yankees playing 3 at home against a Pittsburgh team that is ready for the winter and just cut Rowdy Tellez 4 plate appearances short of earning $200,000 because they have decided to act like a joke. They have good arms. Paul Skeens is going to be probably innings limited. He's probably going to go 5 innings in that game. You can get the Pirates bullpen if you want. Jared Jones's velocity is down. He's starting Friday night. He's going to be innings limited. Bailey Falter's going on Sunday. He's a lefty, but he's really struggled lately. And the Twins are still in this. So after today, if they don't win today's game, they have 6 more chances. They're just making it unnecessarily difficult. And this, my beef with the Yankees is that logic and reason should be enough to combat these people who come out of the woodwork going, I knew it. They're going to fail. They're going to lose every day. You should just be able to cite their recent record and recent run of form, and they should be able to do the work for you so you can come back onto the internet and say, see, look, you were being ridiculous when you said they were going to end the year on a 6-game losing streak. You were being ridiculous when you said they were going to lose home field advantage. You were being ridiculous when you said they were going to get swept out of the first round. But the Yankees refused to win and back you up so that you, the logic and reason person, are wrong because the Yankees failed to do a very simple task. And they made this angry troll on the internet feel correct. And I think the Jasson Dominguez and the defense situation falls right in line with that because, man, all Jasson Dominguez had to come up and do was be competent enough. The approval rating of Jasson Dominguez before he arrived was so high. We were waiting with rapt anticipation. And the assumption was, hey, maybe the defense needs some work, but the offense will be there. He's only gotten 45 at-bats so far. The offense has not really been there, and the defense has made him borderline unplayable in the postseason. And even the Yankee fans who wanted to see him up are starting to acknowledge, we wanted to see it. Now we saw it, and now we might have to deal with Alex Verdugo. It's not some malpractice if Alex Verdugo starts a game in the postseason with the roster as currently constructed. It's malpractice that they were loyal enough to Alex Verdugo that they let it get here. But at this moment in time, if he starts game 1 of the DS, a lot of popular accounts are going to be like, unbelievable, I'm out. And it's just that it's a legitimate question. It's a legitimate calculation at this point. Defense versus offense, the trade-off. I don't love it, but you have to understand it. And I think you're seeing popular Yankees accounts understand it. That said, people are getting it wrong because I've seen people say, oh my gosh, Yankee fans whined and moaned and cried about getting Jasson Dominguez up to be their savior. And they said there's no way he had anything left to learn in the minor leagues. And yet here he is. They called him up. They listened to you. And he clearly had something to work on. The defense is subpar. He's not used to left field. No, we weren't asking for Jasson Dominguez to come up and be perfect. We were asking for Jasson Dominguez to come up as soon as possible so that he could get acclimated to playing a new position and so that we could collect data on what that looked like. maybe he could even get more comfortable over time. If he was called up on August 14th versus September 8th, you got 3 or 4 more weeks to work with after he was healthy. No one was saying, call up Jasson Dominguez. He immediately bats cleanup, profit, World Series. No, we were saying Alex Verdugo isn't good enough. We have a guy in the farm who might be better. We've been waiting for him all year. And the one thing he needs to work on most requires reps and opportunity. The Yankees deprived us of weeks of opportunity, and now you're seeing the result of that. He looks uncomfortable in left field, and he looks uncomfortable in left field on routine plays. It's not just bad routes or 40% catch probability. He could have done that better. It's getting to balls and losing them in the sun and clanging them off his glove. And he's not playoff ready right now, and he could have been if they had given him an earlier opportunity. He's still on my playoff roster. I have no issue starting him, but it's not quite the slam dunk case. And maybe it wouldn't have been if they called him up in August. We don't know, but we'll never know because they decided not to do it. And now we're left with a legitimate conundrum where Verdugo starts in game 1 of a playoff series. You can get mad because you know what Alex Verdugo's offense looks like, but you can't really get mad you can get mad at the Yankees from August and from earlier in September, but you can't really get mad at the Yankees in October because that might be the correct decision right now. They set themselves up for this, but it might be the correct decision right now.
It absolutely is. And if Jasson Dominguez was proving that his bat could not be removed from the lineup because it was so potent, then I don't even think we have a discussion. I think we say, all right, whatever. A little bit of a downgrade on defense, probably going to be susceptible to a couple of errors throughout, a playoff series. It is what it is, but, the slugging's incredible. The lengthening, the ability that he has to lengthen the lineup's incredible, and it just hasn't been that. He's been fine, which I think is pretty much what we projected. Nobody really thought he was going to come up and start batting 300 or replicate his 8 days with the team last year. That was just a preview of what the potential could be, but we know the length of the MLB season and the larger sample sizes suggest regressions to the mean and all that type of good stuff. But yeah, at this point, you have to go with a veteran, and you have to go with a veteran who's better at defense, and that's Alex Verdugo. And you have to go with a veteran who, kill me, but he has a penchant for coming up in the clutch throughout his career. Is it happening this year? Not fucking really. Or at least it hasn't happened in 4 or 5 months, but we know it's there. Jasson Dominguez has 0 experience with that. You can't have guys overrunning fly balls. He's done it now twice in 2 different ballparks. Can't use the excuse of ball getting lost in the lights or in the sun. You just can't. That doesn't fly. DJ LeMahieu losing a ground ball in the lights. Now he's no longer with the team. Because I'm
glad Jasson Dominguez got plenty of experience.
You look at
in the outfield in Oakland and Seattle. I'm glad he got plenty of experience in the outfield in Oakland and Seattle. Those are certainly places he'll be traveling to this postseason. So that was a valuable time to call him up on the schedule, without a doubt.
Yeah, I mean, again, Yankee fans can be dumb for the most part. Elevated sense of what's going on around the team compared to, or at least not compared. I'm not going to compare to anybody, but based on what the public perception is. So you're right. Like, yeah, people, now you're going to classic Yankees to finally complain about removing Clay Holmes from the closer role. No, I'm not complaining. I'm complaining they decided to do it a month and a half too late, and now they have to rejigger the entire bullpen with 3 weeks left in the season. That's a dumb strategy. That's not smart. To bring up Jasson Dominguez a week after you tell him the week after you look into our faces, you looked into my eyes, and you said there is no lane for playing time for Jasson Dominguez. And that changed in a fucking week over the same exact evidence we had from May until the beginning of September. Alex Verdugo not performing. So there was. You just lied, and that's what they do, and that's okay. But fans outside of this organization don't really have a right to criticize what we're saying because they don't know what we're being told from the team and the lies that we're being told from the team. Blatant lie that we were told. And then, we forgot Jasson Dominguez was down there. Damn, we had an outfielder down there who's athletic and can hit right-handed. Mm-hmm. Oh my God. Well, who would have known? So that's why people were complaining. Again, there was no reason for him to be in AAA at any point outside of getting his reps for his rehab. No reason for him to be in AAA. We talked about it for months. His talent had peaked. There is no reason for Jasson Dominguez, who came up for 8 days last year and pummeled major league pitching and dominated in spring training and showed that he was ready for the show, to be hanging out in Scranton, Pennsylvania. That's not how you treat professionals. That's not how you treat top prospects who have proven themselves time and time again. So it should have been, Jasson, you're going to finish your rehab at AAA. We'll give you another 10, 15 games there, and then you're coming right up, middle of August. They didn't do that. And now the lack of reps in the outfield, because again, everybody in the outfield is out of position. Juan Soto, before this season, played most of his games in left field. Aaron Judge is a right fielder. Jasson Dominguez is a center fielder. None of those guys are playing in the position that they're used to. I guess Juan Soto's playing right field because that's where he's more comfortable. Is that correct?
I guess the thing is,
I don't even
Soto
know.
can't go to center field, obviously. And based on how tough it's been for Dominguez, Soto can't go to left field either. There's something about Soto's lateral movement is befitting of Yankee Stadium's right field dimensions versus left field. I get it. It's just that it would be great to have Juan Soto DHing, and Giancarlo Stanton's great, but it would still be great to have Juan Soto DHing, and there's a lot of DHs on the field, and it's imperfect. You don't want the bad defense to bite you, and the solution would be, it would be great if Jasson Dominguez were a better defender, but I'm not saying 3 weeks would have made all the difference, but it would have been nice to have those 3 weeks.
Yep. Look, this is what it comes down to, folks. It's self-inflicted problems. That's all. And it's the Yankees' stubbornness of not wanting to go with what the fans are saying or what the media, it just is. What you're never going to convince anybody that that's not what it is, because all of their decisions are late or unexpected and outdated. So they come late because they want you to forget about that this was once upon a time a narrative, and now, oh, we're making the decision under our own volition. Or they're outdated because, again, they've been talked about for months. Beat the dead horse. Fan base is like, all right, well, we're not fucking talking about this anymore because the organization's clearly not doing it. And then the narrative dies down, and then a week later they make the move, and it's like, oh, what a surprise. Can't believe they did this. It's like, no, I can, because it should have happened 6 weeks ago. So again, not set up properly for the playoffs with all the talent in the world. Mind you, this is a very talented team. Like Joel Sherman said, they will out-talent you on most nights, which is very reflective and representative of their record. But push comes to shove, need to tighten the game up, need to play really good defense, need to exercise fundamentals on the base paths, in the batter's box, situational hitting, coming up in the clutch. It's just all not there. And whether some of the elements are there or not, it doesn't matter, because you need most of those to come together when you're fighting through a playoff gauntlet with, if you're in a 5-game series against, like, who's scary, right? Like we talked about it, the Royals, if you have to face 2 out of those 3 pitchers, that's a tough day. Cole Reagans and Seth Lugo. If you have to face the Tigers, you're going up against Tarek Skubal, who you're probably not going to beat, because the Yankees have trouble against left-handed pitching, and this is the best left-handed pitcher in the league. And they have a really good bullpen. Guardians, best bullpen in the league, virtually unhittable. So even if their starters don't come through, they have an arsenal of players that we have seen over the years. The last, beginning with the Royals, probably in 2015, those bullpens since then have been absolutely lights out. Whether they caught lightning in a bottle or whether they were just conditioned to play that way throughout the season, that's just how the game is unfolded. And the Yankees have a bit of a rickety bullpen. They can't hit that type of pitching, especially when opposition is changing, making pitching changes with guys with different mixes. So yeah, you look at the totality of it and you can't feel confident. And that has nothing to do with this team just dropping the last 2 games. Like I said, they average 4 runs over a 15-game span, happen to go 12. That's more lucky than good. And again, that's great. I'd rather be lucky than good. But in terms of being prepared for the playoffs, it's not a 1-game season. This isn't the NFL where it's like one fucking Sunday, here we go, like one fumble changes the game. No, this is a 5-game series where you have to be on your shit the entire time against the best teams in the league. And I know the Yankees have the capability within them. They're an incredibly deep team, but preparation wise and Strategy wise, I just don't think they're there. And I think that a lot of people are going to be surprised, like non-Yankees fans are going to be surprised if they don't make it to the ALCS.
I agree.
I will not.
No,
I
won't be shocked at all. I mean, look, if you get the Tigers, you better hope it's a best of 5 because you're not winning game 1. You might get lucky, but if you're winning game 1, it's a 2-1 game. If you're winning game 1, it's the most nerve-wracking game 1 of your life. And then you know what they're doing, because we've seen it a million times. I'm not actually ready to say they're not winning game 1, but if they do win game 1, here's what's going to happen. You win a 2-1 game against Skubal. You're riding high. Garrett Cole is the ace. He goes 7. They get 2 innings from Luke Weaver. You're so pumped. You're like, that was the toughest challenge of the series. We did it. We set the tone. Oops, you lose game 2, 6-2. Now you're going back to Detroit, tied 1-1 anyway. Whoops. You'd almost rather lose game 1 and win game 2 in that scenario. But how many times have they done that? Like back to 2006 with the Tigers, to be honest. They pummeled whoever started the opening game for Detroit. Couldn't hold on for the win in game 2, let it slip away, go to Detroit, don't hit, bench A-Rod, don't hit. Over and over again, they win game 1, you lose the series. You win game 1, the tone setter, you think you got it, and no, you just don't. Tarek Skubal is a better pitcher than anybody on the New York Yankees right now. So, speaking of pitching, where did it go? Marcus Stroman last night, the Jasson Dominguez fly ball, not his fault. Can't blame him for that. Can blame him for the 3 preceding singles as well as the 2 more that followed the Jasson Dominguez bungle. 6 hits in the first, ultimately 3 runs. Felt like you were a little bit lucky to get out of there with just 3, and that feeling was correct because then it became 5, and then it became 7, and then it became 8, and it became 9, and they lose 9-7. And you're like, well, man, it would have been great to put up that 9th inning and have allowed fewer runs before, and some of that is Clayton Beeter coming in and not doing the job. Some of that is Stroman starting instead of Cody Poteet. It's a lot. It's bad activity by a New York Yankees team that really needed to see, all right, we lost some valuable relief innings in Nestor Cortes. What do we have here? We haven't trusted Marcus Stroman in a while. What do we have here? I'm not here to tell you that Cody Poteet is going to be some kind of October savior. I'm just here to say that Cody Poteet came out after not pitching in big league baseball for many months between June 12th and September 25th, threw 3 1/3 innings of relief against the O's, only allowed 1 run himself, made some good pitches to get out of jams. His last start prior to this was 5 1/3 innings of 2 earned run ball against Kansas City. He got a little lucky against the Dodgers, walked 3 4 2/3, but he still managed to throw a shutout ball against the Los Angeles Dodgers. One of the most impressive starts of the year was Poteet getting off the mat, giving 6 good innings to the Guardians in cold April. He changes speeds. He's a change of pace. He's not a strikeout artist. Essentially, he's exactly the kind of pitcher Marcus Stroman purports to be, but hasn't been for months now, when he has one of the highest qualified ERAs of any starter in Major League Baseball. So, in my opinion, Poteet's on my playoff roster. Tim Meza probably has to be on my playoff roster now that Nestor Cortes is not available. I don't want him to be, but I suspect he will be. Mark Leiter Jr., I don't know if his spot's up for grabs after 3 1/3 very good innings recently in low leverage ball. But what is low leverage ball? There's really no postseason game that's low leverage ball. I didn't trust him before. I don't know if I trust him now. Either way, Stroman was going to get carried as like a ceremonial break glass in case of emergency guy, but Nestor leaving made that bullpen role very impactful because we no longer have 5 horses we can trust, and we can just throw a bone to somebody who's been a great teammate all year but hasn't delivered for months. And now all of a sudden that guy in the the bullpen pecking order just got bumped up a slot. So maybe Poteet just gets carried and Stroman gets carried too, and Poteet assumes the Nestor role and Stroman continues in sort of the ceremonial last resort bullpen spot. But if that role is important, I think Marcus Stroman showed that something's wrong with the gas tank and he can't embody it right now. And I love Marcus Stroman. And I questioned the signing, but at that price point, I was down with it. Experimental. Let's get after it. Let's go get it. He delivered for months. He was dependable. He was fiery. He was reliable. And now he isn't. And it's a shame you look back at the season, let's say they win a ring. I'd still bet against it. I think most of Twitter would as well. But let's say they win a ring. Fully deserves a ring. I can't wait to see him speak at the rally. He's going to be awesome at the parade. He's going to bask in it because there's a lot of value in what he did this year. Great starts in April, May, June. Going deep into ball games, saving the bullpen, eating innings. But since the swoon began, he has not been the same guy, and he had a chance to show he was dependable, or he could at least attack, and maybe he doesn't have to miss bats, but induce soft contact, and he had maybe his worst start of the year and was a bit snake bitten by his defense, to say the least. But Cody Poteet should have been the starting pitcher for yesterday's game. I think they win the game if Cody Poteet is the starting pitcher for yesterday's game. We needed to see something out of Stroman that we didn't see at all.
Yeah, and I'm not sure we've really seen it. Oh, yeah, I know the results in the first half were good, but was the batted ball stuff good? Because you look at his splits, first inning, opponents are hitting 294 against him, and he has a 5.9 ERA. That's just in the first inning. Second inning, 277 batting average. The ERA goes down to 2.17. Third inning, same batting average, 277. ERA goes up to 4.71. Fourth inning, 250 average, which seems to be his best because I don't think he has limited experience, sixth inning beyond, 308 ERA. Fifth inning, 318 batting average against, 6.85 ERA. And then you have sixth, seventh, eighth, and ninth innings where he has a combined 19 innings over those 4 innings. So that's nothing. He's essentially a 5-inning pitcher, and that's it. And that's fine because, again, you just need somebody to be able to provide stability throughout the season, and I think that's definitely worth what he's earning. But I don't know where you put him if he's coming out of the bullpen or if he's piggybacking somebody. He can't start a game. We know that. There is no chance that that can happen at this rate with his first inning numbers and the manner in which he's performed since essentially the start of August. So that's out the window. Strategy-wise, again, the Yankees haven't done enough to figure out how he can be utilized. They moved him to the bullpen. He got a garbage outing in Seattle. I understand it was what is a 3-out save. Was it considered a save? Yeah, because if it goes longer than 3 innings,
he got a save, but he didn't deliver. It was like 5 hits in 3 innings and a couple of walks. And he put a game to bed, and that was great. But
yeah, there's value in that in the postseason. You know, if you're up 8-2. And you need somebody to come in to rip 3 innings and you preserve the bullpen. Is that his role? Maybe. But that seems to be the only thing on the table right now. I don't know where else you use him. And again, it's not like there's no hard feelings here. I think Marcus Stroman's a good pitcher. I think he's run into bad timing at this point. I think the fact that he's had a lack of durability over the last 2 seasons before arriving in New York with the Cubs those 2 years, he where is it? He didn't eclipse, I think it was maybe like 140 innings in either of those years. Yeah, he didn't go 138 and 2/3, 136 and 2/3. Like that's not a full season workload for a starter. So as you can imagine, both of those seasons had to deal with injuries. So there's that interruption. And like almost this year, I don't want to say it definitively, but it's like he hit the 30-game plateau and it seems like he doesn't really know what to do because he hasn't pitched that many games in over 2 years. So it's tough to kind of make that adjustment. Previously, though, he's been great. Like 2019 and prior, I know he's dealt with injury issues too, but 184 innings in 2019, 201 in 2017, 204 in 2016. So he does have the ability, but now you're entering your age 34 season, like takes a different toll. My whole thing is that the Yankees just need to have a plan with him. And if he's the guy in mop-up, you better have a fucking few mop-up games, which means, hey, offense better show up and score runs. Can't average 4 throughout the postseason. It's not going to get the job done. It's not going to help out the pitching staff. So, but yeah, at this rate, I was, now I regret back in July wondering if Nestor Cortes was going to make the postseason roster because he gave up. I think he had a stretch of 21 earned runs in 21 innings. And you were just like, this can't happen. Like this is crazy. No one else, no other starter, no other like top 4 starter in any rotation in baseball is doing this. So like, is this a conversation we need to have? But over the last month and a half or so, he's really rebounded and he was looking like my genius plan if I was manager, and I'll tell Boone this because his fan, well, when you manage the team one day, you'll okay, great. If I managed a team, it would be Carlos Rodon pitching in game 2 with Nestor Cortes right behind him. Carlos Rodon, Nestor Cortes not pitching on the road unless they absolutely need to. You have guys with good away splits. Luis Heel, exact same splits as he has at home. You probably wouldn't want to start him on the road because of his lack of experience in the postseason, but you could. Clark Schmidt, better on the road than at home. Marcus Stroman, better on the road than at home. So there were options, and you thought, okay, game 2, game 1, worst case scenario, Garrett Cole can go 5, and he gets close to the 100 pitch mark, and you got to use the bullpen that day. Great. Next day, I'm coming out fucking Carlos Rodon, and then if he has a problem through 4 innings, we got Nestor for 4. And then if we have to go to the bullpen, we only need 1 guy. Now, that's out the window. Now that's not possible. So I don't know what they're going to be able to do. I think being a little bit wishy-washy with how they were moving people out of the rotation, like maybe at the point they moved Nestor out, it was probably smarter to move Stroman out because he was on a more consistent basis performing poorly. I don't know, but again, strategical issues, shooting yourselves in the foot. I don't know if they're prepared on the pitching front, and they were definitely not prepared to absorb Nestor's injury.
No, they were not. Can we end this having a little fun? Can we end this talking Boston Red Sox? Because I feel like
let's win tonight, guys. Come on.
Let's win tomorrow.
We're only being critical because of what's happened and because there's a lot of bad things that happened, admittedly. There are concerning things that have happened, and there's existing issues that continue to arise, but we can make it all go away for a day if we just clinch the division. Celebrate at home, be hungover for Friday. Who gives a fuck?
I'm going to read a little bit of poetry to motivate the New York Yankees for tonight's game and maybe for the weekend. Goes a little something like this. I was talking to a veteran today. If this happens, we're going to look back at yesterday, and we're probably going to thank Garrett Cole for getting us going. Hopefully it happens. Hopefully we can face him in the playoffs because he will have to pitch. Hey, Alex, you're right. He will have to pitch in the playoffs. Not to you. Not to you. Alex Cora probably having a really rough post-elimination day because he's about to suffer the exact same fate he did after he was suspended and fired as a Red Sox manager, a vacation back home. I guess that's the worst fate known to man because that was his punishment for cheating as well. So his punishment for failing, again, stewarding a second half collapse, which happened in 2022 and 2023 and 2024 for the Boston Red Sox. Getting more out of less for Cora for half a season. Absolutely. They're 11 games over 500 at the All-Star game. They're 1 game over 500 now. And they're not going to be participating in the MLB playoffs. 20th anniversary of 2004. Again, right? Like all year long, I was like, bad juju, bad mojo. The documentary crews filming the Red Sox. Red Sox fans claimed they were going to boycott the season because they didn't sign Jordan Montgomery, whatever the hell they didn't do. Whatever mid-tier move was the difference for them, watching versus not watching. I'm envious of that level of attachment where you can just be like, man, if we don't sign, if we don't extend Chris Martin, then I'm not watching. If we don't find a way to sign Dan Straley, I'm freaking out. Okay, congrats. You sound like a real fan. But yeah, all those Red Sox fans saying, it's just none of it smelled right. People saying they were going to boycott because of free agency and all of a sudden Chaim Bloom, who you fired, you miss him. Craig Breslow is the truth, but then he doesn't sign Jordan Montgomery, and then ownership is the worst villain in Boston sports history. But meanwhile, you basically had a 500 team last year and a good offensive young core. You bring Tyler O'Neill in, and we all know he's going to be good. And Yoshida's good, and Casas is good, and Trevor Story's going to be healthy. You look at the lineup, and you're like, it's actually kind of scary. Like, you could tell they were going to compete. And the variable was, are they going to be like a 500 team, or are they going to be more than that? In the whole first half, they're more than that. Jared Duran has like an 8-WAR season. Tanner Houck is a number 2 starter. David Hamilton stolen 45 bases. All this classic cascading Red Sox bullshit is happening again. But guess what? Alex Cora overseeing a second half collapse for, again, the third straight year. And then Alex Cora has the easiest job in sports because when he has an undermanned roster and he's overperforming, everybody talks about what a genius he is. And when he has an undermanned roster or a properly manned roster or whatever roster he has, and they start struggling, it's Red Sox ownership's fault. They didn't give him the ingredients. They didn't let him cook. So he's able to make magic in the first half, but not in the second half. All of a sudden, it's not enough. I mean, can someone answer that question for me? It's more than enough in June, but it's not enough in August because now the true talent level starting to show. Isn't that a Cora problem? That he's able to get him motivated for half a year, but not the other half? He's one of the most overrated managers in baseball, or at least the conversation around Cora. We've talked about him like 2 pods. It's Teflon. It's absolutely Teflon. Nothing sticks to him. And the idea that, back to the drawing board, what do you want him to do with what management gave him? I just want him to do what he did in the first half when they were in the playoffs, when they were 11 games over 500. I want him to do that for 162 games. Could we have him do that for 162 games? And if we're going to glaze him on every broadcast, could we at least note that he was the mastermind behind the cheating scheme in one city, and then the next city he went to won 108 games and never eclipsed that total ever again, and later was fingered for cheating. Different cheating, still cheating. Every broadcast that talks about how Alex Cora makes more out of less should be required to also begin with that disclaimer. It should be a legal disclaimer. By the way, we will be praising Alex Cora on the broadcast for the remaining 8 innings. Before we do that, we have to let you know that he was the mastermind behind not 1, but 2 cheating schemes in high-profile Major League cities. One of them earned him a promotion as well as a World Series ring, which the commissioner refused to devalue or take away. He's my – I don't even really – I knew this about myself, but it's true. I don't even really hate anyone on the current Red Sox roster. I hate him more than I ever hated David Ortiz or Manny Ramirez. I hate him.
Hands down.
I hate him so much.
Hands down.
I hate him so much. And I waited forever to see if the Red Sox were going to pull off this miracle inside straight and make the postseason. All their fans counted the team out again like a week or 2 weeks ago. The Yankees series should have been the end of it. The Diamondback series in August should have been the end of it. The Astros sweeping the Red Sox at Fenway should have been the end of it. And you look at the calendar, and they're not out of it yet. And they're 500 the last couple of weeks, and they're not out of it yet. And you're going, I'm going to kill the Twins. I mean, I'm going to kill the Royals for letting this 500 team into the playoffs. It gets to the point where Red Sox fans are posting the numbers, what they need to make the playoffs yesterday, and it's not unrealistic. It's like we need the Royals to go 1-4, and they've been choking for weeks now, and they faced the Braves who were hungry. That could happen. That could happen. We need the Red Sox to go 4-0 against 2 teams that have been eliminated already. 3 of them are at home. That could happen. We need the Twins to go, 2-3. The Twins haven't won since July. That's gonna happen. So we're acting like it's unrealistic. And then miracle of miracles, the Boston Red Sox lose yesterday's game. They're finally eliminated. And they're now taking a victory lap again. Like, well, it's actually pretty impressive that we managed to hang in the race for this long. No, it's one of the least impressive things I've ever seen. You've been 10 games under 500 in the second half. If you had an ounce of the clutch gene that you usually have this year, you'd be in a playoff spot right now. It's unfathomable that the rest of the league let you hang around until the final week of September with your performance in the second half and your record this year. It's actually embarrassing that you're not awaiting a playoff assignment. The Tigers sold at the deadline, and they are. AJ Hinch, who tried to stop your cheating, that's a manager. That's a manager. But when he was fired, he had to go somewhere else, and he did. When Alex Cora was fired, he got to go back to Boston. That's interesting. AJ Hinch is a manager. He called up the kids. He found the formula. They're riding with 2 major league starters right now, and they're in a playoff spot at this moment in time. The Red Sox should be there as well, but they're not, and that's why this clinch feels especially satisfying. They're going to welcome like 4 of the top 30 prospects in baseball next year. They're going to be really good next year, but they're not in the playoffs this year. And you know what? 7 years without a Red Sox World Series, it's official because they're not going to the postseason this year. That's the longest Red Sox World Series drought since they won the 2004 World Series. 7 years is the longest. I am never listening to a Boston criticism from that fan base of their own team ever again. Never. 7 years is long. Get to 10 and I'll consider it. 7 is the longest. Get out. Go home. The Ferris Bueller. What are you still doing here? Show's over. Goodbye.
It's an entitled fan base. Come on the show, Boston Red Sox fans. We'd love to talk with you. But yeah, Alex Cora, I would have one on. Come on, roast sesh. I'd have Alex Cora on the podcast and be like, why do I hate your face so much? And he'd be like, I don't know. But 2018, 108 wins, World Series, pretty cool. After that, misses the playoffs. I feel like we talk about this once a month, which makes me great because I have a script already. It's ready to go. It's ingrained in my head. 2019, same roster, missed the playoffs, 84 and 78. Why? Don't know. 2020, Alex Verdugo gets a 60-day vacation in Puerto Rico while Ron Renicky manages the pandemic Red Sox after they stripped down a World Series roster. Comes back after that vacation, rejuvenated. The Yankees allow them to waltz into the playoffs, advance past the wild card round. They go on a fluky ALCS run, I guess you want to call it. They lose in 6 games to the Astros after blowing their pole position in that series. And then 2022, choke. That offseason, let Xander Bogaerts go. 2023, choke again, sub 500 record. 2024, signs an extension at the end of July. Team has never been worse than it was after that point in the season, and they are in danger of yet another.
This is the worst choke
record.
of all. So, like there are some bad ones. Yeah. Last year was pretty bad. They were like 10 games over 500 in July last year, and they went to San Francisco, and then they botched everything. This year's the worst because this year's team was hungry, underrated, young, really talented.
Yeah,
Bayo, Cutter, Houck. They actually had the horses. There's no reason they shouldn't be in the playoffs right now.
Yeah. And my issue is not even because look, my issue is not with the Red Sox fans because of course every fan base is going to hype up who they have. It's your job as a fan. I want the national media to speak for themselves because all I hear is how great of a fucking manager Alex Cora is. Guy's a wizard. Guy, gets the most out of his players. Does he? Does potentially 3 sub 500 records in 6 managerial seasons mean you're getting the most out of your players? Does 2 postseason appearances out of 6 managerial seasons mean you're getting the most out of? Again, I know making the playoffs is not easy, but look at the flip side. Yankees make the playoffs every year. They don't get to the World Series. They're assholes. And I agree with that because it pisses me off to watch them get there every year and they use the winning record thing as a badge of, haven't had a losing record in 30 seasons. I don't give a fuck. I don't care about that. I mean, it's nice. I will say, as an entitled Yankee fan, it's nice to see your team win, but you go 15 years without a World Series. You go, how long has it been since 2000? Since 2000, it's been rough. If they don't win the 2009 World Series, this is one of the most upsetting and distraught quarter centuries in baseball history with the losses they had. Diamondbacks loss, Marlins loss, Red Sox choke, every loss to the fucking Tigers, all those issues with the Indians back then, whatever the hell happened after 2009, that all a disaster. And then this window right now that's being completely wasted. That's a really bad 25-year stretch if you don't have 2009 in there. So why is it when Alex Cora wins 1 World Series 7 years ago, he's still a genius? Just answer that. That's all. See you, Red Sox. Suck it.
See ya. Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye. Well, hopefully we have a clinch in our future. It'd be really nice if we did. We'll see you again on Monday. It could be the most enraged podcast you've ever seen in your life, or it could be playoff roster projection, wild card, early look at the series we're not in, prep for the DS. It could be a great time. It could be the worst time. So we'll see. We'll see what's up. Thanks for joining us today, live on the Yanks Go Yard podcast. Every Monday, every Thursday, 2:00 Eastern. We'll be right back here next week. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carannante. Where can the people find you?
I'm at Tommy's_takes. We are both at the official Yanks Go Yard Twitter account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Very easy. One little click. Easy. Tell your friends, tell your family. So easy. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. A lot of content there for you. Some stuff we don't even discuss on the podcast because we don't have enough time. You don't want to hear us for longer than an hour. Hour's long enough. You get to hear us blabber for that long, then you can go read us. It's a good break. So please go on over there. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you guys reading the site. We'll be here the entire time. Don't you worry. Yankees clinch. Yankees blow it. Yankees playoffs. Yankees make a run. Yankees eliminated. We're here for all of it. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you on Monday. This is it. End of the regular season. Hope you had a good one.
Take care, everybody. No matter what happens, the Yankees are going to the playoffs. The Yankees are hosting their first playoff series. It would just be great if it wasn't starting on Tuesday for the 4-5. It would be great if that were not the case. So let's hope that's not the case. Let's go win some baseball games. One day at a time worked last time. Win one. Just win one. And then win another. And watch the Guardians. And watch them hopefully lose. And then win another. One day at a time. Let's go.